Hey guys, Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How you doing? Well, I did get a comment about the size of the jig heads I was using up on the St. Lawrence River for that Finesse swim bait tactic, which is really pretty deadly up there. And I was pretty much using anything from like an 1/8 ounce, which is what I still had tied on before we left. These 1/8 ounce like Ned type heads with the swim bait on there, and 3/16. That was pretty much it. Every now and then we'd dabble with a 1/4 ounce. It just seemed a little heavy, but you know, that 3/16 you could cast it a little further. The 1/8 when it wasn't windy, that's what I actually had tied on. And this was actually my drop shot setup I had up there, but that wasn't really playing, so I just I think the rod that I was throwing the swim bait with, the line just totally screwed up. So wind knotted on me. So I just untied my drop shot, and for the rest of the week I was just using this rod, which I probably will use. I'm gonna, when I do this, when I'm out fishing again, I'll probably go to a longer rod, and I'll put my drop shot setup back up on this guy. But just to get a little, maybe a 7-foot rod. But I would go with a 7-foot medium, and this is just how I had it set up. You've just got, that's a 2.8 Kitech, that's a black, and that's that 1/8 ounce Ned head, and just throw it out there and slow roll it back to the boat. Anywhere you're fishing, it's got rock, big shallow flat areas, not too deep of water. I'd say anywhere from 3 to like 10 at the most, and 10 might be pushing it, maybe 3 to 7, 3 to 6. But if you've got those expansive flat areas like we were fishing up in the St. Lawrence, you can cover a lot of water with these little guys. And if they're on that bite, you can catch some absolute giants doing it. So just chuck it out there and just slow roll it back, slow roll it. Almost like you're, slow rolling a spinnerbait. But really, if you think you're going slow, go even slower. And sometimes I threw it out and I would just kind of just drag it, and then swim a little and drag it. You can get hung up, sure, if you're fishing in areas that have rocks, but even with that, that open hook, I didn't really get hung up that often. Every now and then, and usually they would pop off, because you're fishing shallow water, you can usually, troller motor up to it and kind of pop it off, because you're not fishing like super deep. But that's it. That's just the 2.8 Kitech. I was using that. I was also using, and really the best one I caught on it doing it was probably, when I think about it, they're all good, but was this is the Beast Coast Fishing, the 2.8 5-inch slow flow. It's also in black. Black is a great color in that clear water. And what I like about these is they reek, and I mean that in a good way. They reek like garlic. But on that 3/16, like this black, I'll put it on. Did I take a black one out? It doesn't matter. We were using, I was, let my buddy Kenny use this purple one. I don't know if it really matters, the color of the Ned head. But with the black, you can go with a black if you want to so-called match the hatch. Like I was using, I have these old Snagler tackle Ned heads that I got at an outdoor show years ago. I don't know, do they still exist? I don't know. If they do, the jig head worked great. I'll have to check online and see if they're still around. It was snaglertackle.com. So if you guys know, let me know. But I got a bunch of these jig heads back in the day at one of the outdoor shows. And this is a 3/16 ounce. And I was throwing that's black with the black slow flow. And just make sure when you rig these, obviously, you're throwing a swim bait, so rig it straight. And I would just go straight through the snout of the swim bait. And the swim baits have that nice little line there that you can match up. And I would go to like just about to where it starts to thin out on the plastic and bring it through and pop it in. So it's nice and straight. And this little bait is an absolute killer. As I said, throw it out there. I was using, I think on that one I had 7-pound fluoro or 8. I don't think it's 6. Let me see if I can tell just by as I wrap the bait around the camera. I don't know if that's 6 or not. It could be. But like 6 to 8 pound fluoro. It's pretty thin, but I think it might be 7. I don't think it's 6, but whatever. And you'd be surprised with those big smallies. Even that 6-pound line, you're good. Just check your knots, especially if you fish a place like like the St. Lawrence, or a place that has a lot of zebra mussels, because they will just beat if you're fishing a lot maybe and you're just casting and casting and casting, you haven't caught anything in a while, always check that line. You get all those little zebra mussel dings on there, and your 6-pound test becomes about a 1-pound test if you get a big one. But we did not have any problems. You know, I don't think either one of us, Kenny or myself, got broke off once that I can really think of, other than maybe piked all weekend. And you know, we're throwing 6-8 pound, you know, fluoro, you know, very light line, and just slow rolling that swim bait. That tail's going, and you can see in that clear water, you can see that nice shimmy of the tails of the, you know, the slow flow or the Kitech, you know, 2.8. Great subtle action, covering water. And just especially when you see all those rocks, you know, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of rocks on these massive flats up there. But you can do that on any body of water where you've got that kind of, you know, kind of bottom, you know, anywhere. Even now, I'm going to throw this around here on the shallow flats in the lakes I fish when these bass are moving up, getting ready to spawn, if they're not on the beds already. I haven't been out locally in, you know, 10 days now. They probably have moved up at this point, especially as warm as it's gotten this week. So when I get out at the end of the week, hopefully, you know, knock on wood, I can see what the situation is like, because it's still pre-spawn. I would imagine it's kind of, summer bass might still be pre-spawn. Most of them, a lot of them, they'll probably have moved up and or start bedding. Just, you know, swimming this through, you know, spawning areas, you're going to get bit. But try it out, guys. You know, what if there's another, you know, 2.8, you know, size swim bait you like? I'm sure that would work fine. These are the two that I prefer. I like the Kitech. The Kitech, obviously, you're going to catch a few fish and they're going to tear up because it's a soft bait. The slow flow is definitely a little more durable, and I think it's good too. These are a little more durable. If you have confidence in the Kitech, use that. If you've tried the slow flow, you know it's a little more durable plastic, but after you catch a bunch on these, they tear up too, but that's okay. Bait isn't going to last forever. When you're catching 4 and 5 pound smallies on it, you could really don't care, you know, if you go through a few baits. But try it out, guys. You know, whatever kind of a jig head you like. My buddy Kenny was using some Z-Man. They're like a, you know, a Finesse football head, which I ordered. Land Big Fish was having a sale. I ordered some of those. So when they come in on Friday, I'll show them to you, and we'll talk about this a little bit again, because those work pretty good too. But really, whatever jig head you like to use, I wouldn't go higher than 3/16. The quarter, I don't think is as effective. If you're fishing deeper, I can understand going with that 1/4 ounce. But for this shallow technique, 5, 4, 5, 6, 3 feet, you know, even. Just, you know, swimming these through there, they can be deadly. You don't need that 1/4 ounce weight. I think it kind of takes away from the finesse aspect of it. Go with try 3/16. I even, like I said, this is an 1/8. I was throwing the 1/8 ounce and it was fine. Now, when the wind really kicked up, it was a little tough throwing that one. So I went to that 3/16, that little bigger head, get a little more casting distance and just be able to, you know, cut through the wind a little better. But, you know, if you got a real windy day, you can cast these with the wind a mile, but when you throw into the wind, these little tiny baits aren't going to really go anywhere. But give it a try, guys. Finesse swim bait fishing for monster smallies. Give it a try. It will definitely open your eyes, if you haven't done it already, to another finesse tactic to catch a really big smallmouth on a simple technique. All spinning setup, light line, and they just load up on it, and it's just weight, and it's a good bite. It really works well, So it's opened my eyes, you know, Mr., you know, 20-pound test jig fisherman, to another finesse technique to catch huge bass. So it will work on big fish too. All right, so give it a shot. Any questions, let me know. I'll put a link to any of these jig heads I can find. I'll put a link to that Z-Man one that Kenny, my buddy Kenny, was using. As I said, I ordered a few of those, and I'll do a full video of those on Friday. But, you know, these are some old, you know, tech bait, 3/16 ounce. I was really looking for the size of the jig head. I didn't care if it was tungsten or lead or whatever. I just wanted the weight, the size. The 3/16 seemed to work the best. The 1/8 seemed to work the best. The smaller the jig head go. Like I said, start with those, the 1/8, 3/16. Try those first. I think those are better for this technique. But that's it, guys. So any questions, let me know. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, any questions, let me know in the comments. That was what spurred me on to do this video, was a comment that I had made about using this setup. So I love the comments. It really gives me ideas for videos as we move into a different part of the season. as we move into the fish getting on beds, some sight fishing stuff. A lot of the big fish will be moving up, getting ready to spawn in our areas here in New England and around the Northeast. Some places in the Northeast, the lower part, they might be on or done already. I would assume this is usually the time of the year where I go to a few of my lakes that I like, that I'll know that there'll be a lot of beds, and do a lot of sight fishing for a few days before I give them a break, and then we'll start the post spawn, because it comes and goes quick. It comes and goes quick. We go from pre-spawn to post spawn really fast here in the Northeast, really fast. But that's it, guys. So any questions, let me know. If there's any other swim baits you guys have used for this technique, let me know what they are. I'd like to try them out. I always like to try new baits for a technique that I like. But get yourself some 1/8 ounce, some 3/16 ounce jig heads, 6 to 8 pound fluoro, some spinning setup that you like, and just cover water, but fish it slow, and you will get bit, and you'll catch some nice ones too. All right, so that's it. So please like this video, please share it. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and I will see you guys soon on YouTube. Mark out.